Good evening. I am the Maven of the Eventide, and welcome back to my vampire library, where I share with you my vast tracts of vampire books and books about vampires, books specifically containing vampires, books tangentially related to vampires, books associated with vampires, books having vampires, books for vampires, books about vampires, the books about vampires. And, some books that don't have anything to do with vampires, but books for people who would like vampires, as well as things that have to do with vampires. Yes, vampire books. It's a new year, the year of our Dark Lord, 2026, and it is the dead of winter. If you are like me, you have been snowed in recently, trapped within your lair, not able to go outside. So, what is there to do but sit around, huddled up in spooky blankets, reading vampire books? With less judgment than usual. Not that it matters what people think about what you read. At least they're thinking of you at all. As usual, for this time of year, I have many things to share with you that were holiday gifts to me from the gift-giving holidays that have just recently passed, and I have my family and friends and you to thank for these gifts. Thank you for sending these to my P.O. box. But I have also not shared with you since before Halloween, since before I went to the Vampire Ball in New Orleans, so I also have many things to share with you from my adventures there. So first, as always, we are going to start with the books, because that is ostensibly why we are here in the Vampire Library, though, as I have said before, the Vampire Library is transformed into something more like a vampire museum, so we will get to the other things, but books first, always. I always tell you that I don't really do them in any particular order. Usually I just stack them by size, but I have sort of come up with an order to my stacking over the years that I have been doing this. I will always put the specifically vampires for Cusco's vampires at the top of the stack, often by size, but the books that are new releases, very vampire forward, books that are new and popular and special, especially books sent to me by you, I will always put at the top of the stack. If there are smaller books that I need to put on bigger books, I'll put them at the top of the stack, but then oftentimes I will pull the bigger books out and talk about those first. And then I will put books that are sort of older vampire books below those, and then books that are maybe repeats of books that I've been sent before, but I still want to mention and thank you for sending me below those. And then those are usually fiction that I'll feature first. And then after that, I'll put vampire nonfiction or gothic nonfiction below that, as well as children's books will usually be at the bottom, or comic books or graphics, anything like that, magazines. And then below that, we will get into books that are connected to vampires, like books by authors who write vampire books, but maybe these aren't their vampire books, so it'll be below that. And then more into other spooky gothic related things will be below that. So there is a method to my stacking. I have discovered it isn't just by size. Speaking of new released vampire books, at the top of the stack, very top heavy this time, mainly because it was too big to put anywhere else. Starting off our whole, Empire of the Dawn by J. Kristoff. This is book 3 in the Empire of the Vampire series, just as much of a doorstop as the first 2 books in the series. As you may recall, I've talked to you about Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff before, as well as a sequel, Empire of the Damned, which came out a couple years ago. And now the third and final book in the series, Empire of the Dawn, is out. And just like my other copies, this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. And it is illustrated just like the other copies of the book. This has the full color illustrations on the flyleaves. I thought only the Barnes & Noble exclusive editions were illustrated, but I came to understand that the other editions were also illustrated, so I don't know what makes the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition exclusive. Maybe it's probably just a different cover or something. It is special. These 3 were all sent to me by the same person, so thank you for sending me this whole set. I actually finally read the first one in this series with my IRL book club recently. My IRL book club is a sci-fi fantasy book club. We don't always read vampire books, but sometimes we do because they fall under sci-fi fantasy genre in the fantasy category, obviously, though sometimes also sci-fi. We read anything speculative in that book club, and they elected to read Empire of the Vampire as our Christmas read. Over Christmas, we always read a larger book because we take December off, so we get 2 months to read, so we decided to read this book. So I have read this book very recently, and I can now go on to read the sequels. And I mentioned this to my Discord server that I was reading this book in case anyone in the Discord server wanted to read it along with me. And if you are there and you read it along with me, I do still intend to do a live stream about this book soon as I have time, now that I am back from all of my holiday travels. So stay tuned. We will be discussing the first book in this series now that I have book 3. I'm not going to read you the summary of book 3 because I don't want to do any spoilers. But as a reminder for what the series is about, it is a high fantasy, second world fantasy, epic fantasy, whatever you want to call that genre, about a post-apocalyptic world setting where the sun has been blotted out by a giant ash cloud, like a meteor has struck, like when the dinosaurs went extinct. And now vampires have been able to take over the earth because the sun is dim enough that they can go about during the day. And so this is taking place during like 1000 AD, so like post-rise of Christianity, but there's like a false second world version of Christianity in this. And vampire hunters exist. They are half vampires. So think about like if Vampire Hunter D had a tragic backstory where he went to Vampire Hunter D, Vampire Slayer High School, and he learned all of his skills and grew up to become a vampire slayer and was out hunting vampires and trying to stop the vampire apocalypse, and did, at least stopped the leader of it. I know that doesn't really stop it, but he stopped the leader of it, and now he is in prison for killing the leader of the vampire apocalypse, and now is telling his life story of how he did that. And I thought this would be the entire story, but no! It ends on a cliffhanger! It doesn't even get up to the point where he meets the leader and kills him and gets put in prison. No, it just like stops partway through, so you really do need all 3 of these giant books to tell his whole story of how he kills the king and ends up in prison. So I guess I don't even know if we actually get beyond that, if he ever even gets out of prison and actually goes and actually does actually stop the whole apocalypse. Who knows? I'm gonna have to read this many pages to find out. Never say there is not enough vampire content. Every once in a while, people ask me, are there any vampires for guys? Vampires are all romance. They're so girly. They're all about feminism and girl power and, you know, boyfriends and stuff. No, these are vampires for guys. You know how when Game of Thrones came out, there were all these books that are like, this is like Game of Thrones, but for girls. Well, this is vampires, but for guys. So if you are a man looking for manly vampire content, this is your manly vampire content right here. Lucy Undying by Kirsten White, a Dracula novel. I've been hearing about this book for a while, and I finally got a copy. Thank you for sending this to me. I'm a fan of Kirsten White. I read one of her books before. I really liked it, and I've heard a lot about her. This is the book of hers that I read that I really liked. This is The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. This is Frankenstein retold from Elizabeth's point of view, but if Elizabeth was like a secret badass dark soul, and she was actually kind of had a villain arc, sort of. This is a really fun book, especially with Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein being the hot thing lately. If you're into that, I highly recommend this book, especially if you're an Elizabeth fan. Definitely read this book. If you like his take on Elizabeth, you will like this book. Her other book that we discussed previously was An I Darken, which isn't a vampire book, but the premise of this book is, what if Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Tepes, was a woman? So it's his life story retold but if he was a girl, and how that would have changed his life story, and what his life would have been like, and how he would have gone forward and done his whole Vlad the Impaler thing, maybe slightly differently if he had been a girl. So it's an alternate history novel. He doesn't like become a vampire and become Dracula or anything, as far as I know. I haven't read it yet, but it does tell the whole Vlad the Third story with his brother Radu the Beautiful and all of that, with his whole enslavement with the Turks, and it has, you know, all of those historical characters that we know and love. This is the first of a duology. So what if Elizabeth was secretly a badass girl? What if Vlad the Impaler was secretly a badass girl? So my guess for this one is, what if Lucy was secretly a badass girl? That's my prediction. That's my guess. Kirsten White just seems to have a type, you know? This is a must-read for Bram Stoker fans who believe Lucy deserved better. A vampire escapes the thrall of Dracula and embarks on her own search for self-discovery and true love in this epic and seductive gothic fantasy. Her name was written in the pages of someone else's story. Lucy Westenra was one of Dracula's first victims. I don't know if he was her first victim. I think she was one of his last victims, but her death was only the beginning. Lucy rose from the grave a vampire and has spent her immortal life trying to escape from Dracula's clutches and trying to discover who she really is and what she truly wants. Her undead life takes an unexpected turn in the 21st century London. Oh, so it's a modernized Lucy. I guess she really is undying. She has come to the 21st century. When she meets another woman, Iris, who is also yearning to break free from her past. Iris's family has built a health empire based on a sinister secret, and they'll do anything to stay in power. Is the sinister secret vampire blood? Is that how they have health power? Lucy has long believed she would never love again, yet she finds herself compelled by the charming Iris, while Iris is equally mesmerized by the confident and glamorous Lucy. But their intense connection and blossoming love are threatened by outside forces. Iris's mother won't let go of her without a fight, and Lucy's past still has fangs. Dracula is on the prowl once more. Lucy Westenra has been a tragically murdered teen, a lonesome adventurer, and a fearsome hunter, but happiness has always eluded her. Can she find the strength to destroy Dracula once and for all, or will her heart again be her undoing? So will her love for Iris make her not able to destroy Dracula? Interesting. I like the cover. It has like a 3-wolf moon thing going on in her hair. She's got secret wolves in her hair. Good for her. So modern Lucy falls in love with a woman. I guess this is another sapphic Lucy take. A lot of people like to ship Lucy and Mina from Dracula because their letters, their Victorian gal pal letters in the original Dracula novel are so full of love that people think, oh, they must have been in love because, you know, women just wrote that way back then. But people with modern eyes see it and think it must be sapphic, so a lot of takes turn her into a lesbian. Why not? Here is something I am really excited about. This is A Walk in the Sun, a vampire novel by Lisa Dominique Machat, who is the co-owner of Vampire Vineyards, who you will remember that we discussed Vampire Vineyards Vampire Wine many years ago. And then again, we discussed it more recently when I bought their new box set. I did not know that the owner of Vampire Vineyards wrote a vampire novel 10 years ago. This is the 10th anniversary edition of A Walk in the Sun, her vampire novel. And she released this 10th anniversary edition with a new vampire wine, Dracula's Daughter Prosecco, a sparkling rosé Prosecco. And she sent this to me as a lovely gift so that I could drink this Prosecco and read her book, which I am thinking that we will do for an upcoming vampire book club once I relaunch that and we get started rolling with that again. So look forward to that. I love Prosecco and I love rosé. So rosé Prosecco, I'm very excited about this. Should drink it chilled. You can make mimosas out of it, but I won't. I'm going to drink it and enjoy it exactly as it is. It says, Forever Sparkle, Dracula's Daughter Prosecco Rosé. It's a product of Italy, so they don't make it at Vampire Vineyards. They just distribute it. That's her. That's Lisa Dominique Machat, founder of Dracula's Daughter Prosecco. Welcome to the home of Dracula's daughter Prosecco, a celebration of life, love, and forever fabulous moments. This beautiful Prosecco Rosé comes from the heart of Veneto, Italy, and is absolutely delicious. I'm thrilled to share my love of Prosecco Rosé through Dracula's daughter. As co-owner of Vampire Wines, I love that wine is an adventure and can transport us to another time and place. Enjoy a taste of Italy with every sip of this bubbly. And remember that ancient Romans drank Prosecco to preserve youth and lengthen life. Based on how long the empire lasted, it may just work. Forever sparkle. Salute. Tell me about this book. There's a lot of accolades on the back. This book has been out for 10 years. It's had a lot of time to earn praise. There's a QR code for a website, awalkinthesun.com. Kirkus gave it 5 stars and says it's reminiscent of the earliest vampire novels, such as Bram Stoker's Dracula. Wow, it's been nominated for a lot of awards. What else did Kirkus say? A fast-moving, romantic vampire story that convincingly harks back to Gothic conventions with its briskly paced story and direct, engaging style. Fans may find much to satisfy them in this engaging thriller. A captivating, well-written, fast-paced vampire thriller, says the San Francisco News. It's voted one of the best indie books worth discovering. It was nominated for the Best Horror Novel by Forward Reviews. Nicholas Justine, a lonely mortal born into wealth, yet neglected since his birth, discovers a new world when he is transformed into a naive young vampire. He desperately tries to deal with his sudden curse while clinging to his hopes of marrying his Elena, a beautiful and compassionate mortal. Their love becomes an unbreakable bond as Nicholas struggles to comprehend his newfound powers. Only a force greater than he could threaten his life and the woman he adores. A Walk in the Sun is a passionate tale of love, anguish, guilt, and revenge. On the back page, there she is, with her glass of Prosecco. She autographed it for me. Chapter 1 begins with, the year was 1874. Oh, yes, he's a historical vampire. I love it. It came from the Floodwaters by Sean Barber. This book is brand new. It's not even out yet. It is coming out in March 13th, 2026. This is a preview copy. It was sent to me by the author so that I could share it with you, and I want to tell you all about it. It is a novella. Tam is alone in their Savannah apartment when a hurricane blows in. Rain falls, streets flood. When water comes pouring into the building's lobby, it brings with it an old pine box. Inside that box is something ancient, something evil. It arises and it begins to feast. Now, as people are dying, the survivors gather together in one small apartment, desperate to live through the storm and live through the night. But the evil lurks right outside their door. It's hungry. It's patient, and it has all night long to kill every last one of them. The quote says, "So you're like a vampire? All we have to do is survive until morning?" Silence settled over the apartment as everyone processed this. The elder replied, "You won't." I'm excited. If you're interested, you can pre-order it online right now. Comes out in March. It came from the Floodwaters by Sean Barber. And like with all of my videos, I always include a list with buy links to all these books. It is in the description of this video, so just go down the description, click the list, and it'll take you to my little Amazon storefront thing, and it will show you the list of all these books that I'm talking to you about, anything that actually still exists online that you can click and go to will be there, so I make it super easy for you so you don't actually have to try to search for anything on your own. Thank you for sharing this with us. Of Monsters and Mainframes by Barbara Truelove. So this is a book that my IRL book club read in October, I think. So I've already read this book, and I told my Discord server about it too, to read it with me, and I was hoping to do a live stream about it when I finished it, but the vampires in it were actually pretty minimal, though the concept is based on Dracula, so like it's related to vampires. But I wasn't really sure about the live stream after I finished it. It was right around when I was going to travel for the holidays. No, it was November when we read it. And then I was going to travel for Thanksgiving, so I didn't have time to do the live stream after all. But we may still end up doing it as like a delayed live stream. But the premise of this, it is a sci-fi book. It's set in outer space. It is the last voyage of the Demeter, which is the ship that Dracula takes from Transylvania to England, when he moves to England, and he's on board this ship, and he's gradually eating everybody on the ship, and they're all dying off one by one. And the captain's log, which is all that they find, you know, Dracula's epistolary novel, so you read about this in the captain's log as everybody's dying off one by one. There's an evil aboard this ship. We don't know why everyone's dying. And then the ship arrives in England, and it's just the captain, the dead captain, strapped to the helm, and they don't know why everyone died. So this is that voyage, the last voyage of the Demeter, but in space. So Demeter is a spaceship told from the ship's point of view. So the ship is a sentient spaceship. She's an AI. And this is the last voyage of the Demeter told from the spaceship's point of view. So Dracula is on board Demeter. He kills everybody on board, all the crew, all the passengers on this spaceship. And Demeter is not happy about it. And the summary on the back makes it seem like that's the whole story, and then she wants to get revenge on Dracula, and she goes on a revenge quest against Dracula. But having read this book, I can tell you that there is a whole lot more to this book than that. It's kind of told in vignettes, and that's just one vignette. It's a monster mash book. So the Dracula story is the first one, and then there's a werewolf story, and then there's a Lovecraft mythos story, and then there's a Frankenstein story, and then there's a mummy story, and then all those stories mash up and go on the revenge quest together. So it is a monster mash, which makes it even more my jam. I love this book. This book was amazing. I do want to talk about it. We should definitely do a live stream about it. Let me just read you the summary. Like I said, the summary is a bit misleading, but if it makes you want to read it, then good, because I recommend this book. Demeter just wants to do her job, shuttling humans between Earth and Alpha Centauri. Unfortunately, her passengers keep dying, and not from equipment failures, as her AI medical assistant, Steward is the doctor, robot, ship's health bay on the ship, would have her believe. These are paranormal murders, and they begin with one nasty ancient vampire decided to board Demeter and kill all her humans. To keep from getting decommissioned, Demeter must join forces with her own team of monsters. A werewolf, an engineer built from the dead, that's the Frankenstein, a pharaoh with otherworldly powers, the mummy, a vampire with a grudge, that's Mina has become a vampire, a fleet of cheerful spider drones, those are the Renfield bots, because, you know, Renfield ate spiders. Together, this motley crew will face down the ultimate evil, Dracula. The queer love child of pulp horror and classic sci-fi, of monsters and mainframes, is a dazzling, heartfelt odyssey that probes what it means to be one of society's monsters and explores the many types of friendship that makes us human. They call it queer because the ship's AIs are agender or female coded and, you know, gender fluid. Like, there's a lot of gender fuckery in it. Frankenstein is genderless because Frankenstein is amalgamation of like multiple people. So it's like many genders in one. The werewolf girl is lesbian. Mina is queer. There's like multiple different queer people and relationships in it. I wouldn't call it a queer story in that it's like a romance or anything. There's nothing that is like there's a queer agenda in the story. It's just a story that happens to have queer characters in it, in that this is taking place in the far distant future. And why shouldn't it? Because, you know, why should we be defined by strict gender norms and gender rules in a advanced society, especially with artificial intelligence and constructs made up of multiple body parts? Why should it have a strict gender binary? It just makes sense. It was a very fun book. I enjoyed it. It's told from multiple points of views. There's chapters from the ship's point of view, the main ship Demeter, but she does get her memories wiped. So then the point of view switches to the doctor robot AI's point of view, and then it switches to the werewolf's point of view for a while, and then it switches to Frankenstein's point of view for a while, so it jumps around. I enjoyed it. I liked it. We should definitely talk about it more. I should probably do a live stream. Spaceships aren't programmed to seek revenge, but for Dracula, Demeter will make an exception. Mosquito, Southern Vampires with Elixirs, Potions, and Spells by Marita Wayward Crandall. This is a twofold book. It is a penny dreadful anthology, and it is also a recipe book, a drink recipe book, and it is the sequel to Mosquito Southern Vampires Part 1, A New Orleans Penny Dreadful, which was a recipe book for food recipes based on Marita Woywood Crandall's restaurants that she owns in New Orleans, the Vampire Cafe, the Vampire Apothecary, the 2 restaurants that she owns in New Orleans, and we discussed this previously. And now she has released a sequel for the drink recipes featured at those restaurants with more stories from her Penny Dreadful series and more illustrations. Since I discussed this book with you, I have read it and I really enjoyed the Penny Dreadful series. It's a mystery of murders, vampire murders happening in New Orleans. A guy from out of town comes to New Orleans and starts experiencing New Orleans for the first time and vampire murders happening there. It's very exciting. And now he has further adventures in New Orleans and learned some drink recipes. In the first book, every installment of the Penny Dreadful came out with a recipe. So in each of those installments, he would go to a restaurant or meet someone and they would mention a dish, and then the recipe for that dish would be at the end of that installment. And this was originally released in a serialized format in pamphlets with the Penny Dreadful, and then this is the collected edition. But he was working as a bartender. He was working in a bar. So I'm guessing it's going to be similar in this, like in every installment, he's going to go somewhere and someone's going to mention a drink, and then the recipe for that drink is going to be at the end of his little chapter. But these are the actual drinks that are served at those bars. And I have been to those bars in New Orleans and the drinks are amazing. So now I can make them at home. The supernatural world of the French Quarter quickly sucked Jake Campbell in and just as quickly spit him out. Now running from vampires and former lovers, Jake finds himself in Texas, where he discovers he's not just a magnet for mayhem, he's also a beacon for vampires, no matter what state he's in. Jake teams up with 2 unusual vampire hunters against his better judgment, and the 3 head back to New Orleans to put an end to the Casket Girls, who Jake believes are still held captive in the convent attic. While it may seem like Jake has things under control, he soon finds out that he should never underestimate vampires and scorned women. Dacre Stoker says this is a real page-turner. It had my attention right from the start. It reminds us all never to underestimate a vampire. And Elise Arden, best-selling author of The Casket Girls, says the cocktails are just as dangerous as the vampires in this book, but much more delicious. A reader beware. And Marita autographed it for me to Elisa. Vampires are monsters. Marita is amazing. Last year, when she gave me this copy of the book, I got to meet up with her at the Vampire Apothecary bar, and she bought me a drink, and it was very strong and very wonderful. This year, she was really sick and she wanted to meet up with me so that we could get lunch, but she was just so sick, so she couldn't. So she left this copy of the book for me to pick up at the Vampire Boutique in New Orleans, which is a wonderful, amazing shop. If you are ever in New Orleans, go to the Vampire Boutique. You can buy anything vampire-related, books, things, stuff, food at the Vampire Cafe right next door to it. All your vampire needs served in one Vampire Boutique. We've discussed Marita previously with her other book that I mentioned to you before, that I'm going to remind you of you now, which is New Orleans Vampires, History and Legend. This is her nonfiction book about the actual vampire legends of New Orleans, and there aren't that many. You can see it's not a very big book. New Orleans was not very much known for vampires outside of fiction. There are only a few legends, but she has compiled all of them in this book. So if you want an actual primer history of the actual real-life vampire legends of New Orleans, this is the book that I recommend, because she has done a wonderful job of putting it all together in one place. It's got photographs. So this doesn't just have drink recipes, it also has potions and spells. So if you are practicing spellcaster, there are some really cool spells in here too. And you can find out the rest of the story about what happens to Jake. Blood Vengeance by E.H. Drake, which is book 3 of the Blood Herring trilogy, which we have discussed previously. I'm not going to read you the summary on the back because I don't want to give you spoilers, but I will remind you what book 1 of the Blood Herring trilogy is about. Why did vampires hide for so long? It's been 3 years since the massacres, and Detective Gabriel Collins still doesn't know the answer. They took everything from him, and he'll never know why. Until finally Gabe has his chance. A real vampire murder. A chance to put one of the bloodsuckers away. But when a vampire saves his life, Gabe doesn't know what to think. How can he work with one of the monsters responsible for all his suffering? Lily just wants to know why a vampire drug is flooding Portland. The last thing she needs is to cross paths with the police. But when her identity is exposed to the vampire detective, she's forced to keep her enemy closer. Will they be able to save their city, or will their own biases ruin everything? Considering they are both on the cover of this one, I'm guessing they are still working together. He's still got stakes in his hand. She's still got a gun. Vampire hunter teaming up with a vampire. Unlikely duo buddy cop story. It says it's a trilogy, so this is the third and final book in the series, and now you can get all three. This book was also sent to me by E.H. Drake. This is an anthology, and E.H. Drake is one of the authors in it. This is Anthology of the Damned, Library of Madness, 13 tales of horror designed to haunt your sleep. Enter a collection of chilling volumes where darkness reigns and fear is a constant companion. Each of the anthologies of the damned bring together more than a dozen master storytellers per book, each weaving a unique and terrifying tale that will leave you jumping at shadows. Imagine scary stories to tell in the dark, but written for grown-ups. Babysitter slashers, classic vampires, an author descending into madness, and gene-splice monstrosities. These stories and more. This set of spooky tales is a perfect read for Halloween, dark and stormy nights, or Sunday morning church, and will haunt your dreams lingering long after the page is turned. The story in here by E.H. Drake is called The Vampire's Voyage. And they marked the pages for me, and they autographed their story for me. Maven, keep it spooky. Oh, I also got autographs from a couple of the other authors. Oh, thank you. Mouthful of Ashes by Brianna Morgan. It's a former library book. When is this from? It says it's no longer property of the Springfield Greene County Library District, because it's the property of me. It's from 2021, so Springfield County Library District didn't keep it very long. Mourning the sudden loss of her sister, Kelly Danoff wants nothing more than to embrace a fresh start in a new town, leaving the haunting memories of her sister's death behind. But when her brother Ramsey drags her to a spooky boardwalk, the two become entangled with a local vampire gang and its enigmatic leader, Elijah. Callie refuses to accept their existence, until she and her brother unknowingly ingest vampire blood. Now they only have 3 days before they turn into vampires themselves. With her carefree summer thwarted, Callie must trust the group she barely knows in order to save her family. Sounds like a young adult book. Looks like it might be self-published. I don't see any publisher on here, just the author's website, BriannaMorganBooks.com. It's got a great cover, though. Dead to the World by Charlene Harris. This is one of the Sookie Stackhouse novels. This is actually the fourth Sookie Stackhouse novel, which I have read all the Sookie Stackhouse novels. I read them in ebook form many years ago, back when they first came out. I don't own them. I own the first one and the second one because you sent them to me, and now you sent me the fourth one. So I'm slowly gathering them. Thank you. I love the fourth one. The fourth one's actually my favorite of all of them. So I'm very happy to have the fourth one, even though I don't have the third one. I don't even remember the third one, but I love the fourth one. This is my favorite one because this is the one where Eric loses his memories and he and Sookie actually bond. They go from enemies to friends to lovers, but not like they become lovers, but it's not like real because he's not really himself. So it's the beginning of a fraught relationship that eventually does turn into something. It's very angsty. I love it. It's the one where Eric gets character development. And he is, of course, my favorite character because he is entirely inspired by Lestat, who is, of course, the best vampire character ever written. A very slowly growing Sookie Stackhouse collection. Thank you. By a Thread by Jennifer Estep, an elemental assassin book from the New York Times bestselling author of Spider's Revenge. I don't know anything about this. I don't know if it's the first in the series. I don't know. I've never heard of this before. Guessing it's not the first in the series. Yeah, okay, so the first one is Spider's Bite, Web of Lies, Venom, Tangled Thread, Spider's Revenge, and then By a Thread. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the 7th book in the series. Thank you. So she is an assassin. Is she a vampire assassin? Is that why you sent this to me? Does she assassinate vampires? She is a lethal spider. Can't a cold-blooded killer catch a break? Elemental assassin. So she kills elementals? I guess I don't even know if this is a vampire book. It's a fantasy tale. Okay. So it's fantasy. She's killing something supernatural. She's assassinating something. I don't know. If you know anything about this book, tell me. It was in the pile of vampire books that you sent me. So I took it upon your word. We'll find out. Dark Need by Lynn Veal. A novel of the Darken. Okay, does that mean it's not the first in a series either? Novel of the Darken. Are there other novels of the Darken? It says, best-selling author of Private Demon. Is it a sequel to Private Demon? Or is that just another book by the same person? In Aching Emptiness, homicide detective Samantha Brown is a tough, highly decorated cop. But for the past 12 lonely years, since she nearly died from a gunshot wound, she's felt a deep inner longing. A lost love. The mysterious Lucan, with his timeless ability to seduce women, is focusing on the emotionally battered Samantha, who has awakened his wild memories of a long-ago love. A passion that will be fulfilled. As Samantha pursues a deranged killer, her only clue is a medieval cross inscribed Lucan, the name of a man who owns a nightclub near the murder scene. Drawn into a seamy underworld, Samantha falls for Lucan, who believes that he's a vampire, and that Samantha is his reincarnated first love. Now she must save this man who seems beyond redemption, and who fulfills her deepest, darkest desires. And then there's praise for a book called If Angels Burn. So there's a book called If Angels Burn, and there's a book called Private Demon, and then this is a book called Dark Need. So is it the third in a series? Unlike the other book, it doesn't have a list of books at the front. So I would have to Google that. It is from 2006. Mercy Blade and Dark Queen by Faith Hunter, which are two books in the Jane Yellowrock series. Jane Yellowrock is a vampire hunter, bounty hunter, detective, slayer character. And I do have the first book in the Jane Yellowrock series called Skinwalker, which I read for my In Real Life book club. I think it was actually the first book my In Real Life book club ever read, because Faith Hunter is a semi-local author to me, and I had the opportunity to meet and interview her on this channel. We have that video. You can actually watch that here. Not this channel, my main channel. Yes. So you can watch my interview with Faith Hunter where we talk about her Skinwalker and her Jane Yellowrock series. And let's see, these two books are the third book in the series. Not bad. So the first and the third. And the 17th book in the series. So yeah, I have a way to go to fill in the gaps there. So I have the first, the third, and the 17th book in the series. Fun. So Jane Yellowrock is a skinwalker, which is a shapeshifter. She can turn into a panther. Jane Yellowrock is a last of her kind, a skinwalker of Cherokee descendant who can turn into any creature she desires and hunts the undead of the living. She only turns into a panther in this book, so I guess if she can turn into other creatures, she just chooses not to. Maybe she does it in these books. But now she's been hired by Catherine Fontenay, one of the oldest vampires in New Orleans, and the madam of Katie's ladies to hunt a powerful rogue vampire who's killing other vamps. Amidst a bordello of real ladies of the night and a hot Cajun biker with a panther tattoo who stirs her carnal desire, Jane must stay focused and complete her mission, or else the next skin she'll need to save may be her own. Dark Thirst. This is another short story anthology edited by Angela C. Allen. It's got Omer Tyree, Donna Hill, Monica Jackson, and others. Sink your teeth into 6 tales of the undead. Pure escapist fun, says Publishers Weekly. Featuring stories from some of today's most popular African-American writers. A haunting anthology of vampire fiction, one that brings a colorful new dimension to one of the world's most erotic and enduring myths. Nice! Tenerife Dew says, a shot of blood with a twist. This anthology firmly establishes that vampire mythology has crossed the color line for good. Black vampire stories! Thank you! And there's little summaries of all 6 of them. In the first one, the Old South falls prey to a terrifyingly handsome young vampire with a real taste for the ladies. Love at first bite. Never hurt so good. Next one. The Mafia is no match for the wicked charms of a beautiful young vampire once she lets loose on the New York City streets. And the next one. Can a pair of fangs help a sister burn more calories? A full-figured woman goes on a thirst-quenching search for the perfect low-carb diet. Next. It's a matter of life and the living dead for a half-vampire whose greatest wish is to save lives and become human again. Number 5. A sensuous vampire thirsts for something more, but can she find it without getting a dagger in her own heart? Number 6. A vengeful vampire pushes one woman to the edge, unaware that her family secret gives her the power to fight back. When did this come out? That's why it's called Dark Thirst. I get it. This came out in 2004. Wow. Pre-Twilight. No, the stories were from 2004, but this collected edition came out in 2006. Nice. The Good, the Bad, and the Undead by Kim Harrison. This is a book in the Dead Witch Walking series. I talked to you very recently about Dead Witch Walking, which I finally picked up a copy of. Dead Witch Walking does have vampires in it. It's a witch book, but it does have vampires in it. In the Hollows, vampires are only the beginning. What number in the series is this? Is this the second in the series? No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 8th in the series. So I've got the first book in the series and the 8th book in the series. Charlene Harris says, "You'll love this bounty hunter." Charlene Harris would know. It's a tough life for witch Rachel Morgan, sexy independent bounty hunter, prowling the darkest shadows of downtown Cincinnati for criminal creatures of the night. She can handle the leather-clad vamps and even tangle with a cunning demon or two. But a serial killer who feeds on the excerpts of the most dangerous kind of black magic is definitely pressing the limits. Hunted, also from the library sale it seems, which is a House of Night novel by PC Cast and Kristen Cast, Marked being the first in the House of Night series. I've talked to you about Marked previously. Let's see, Hunted would be it's from the Wright County Library. It says discard on here. This would be the 5th in the House of Night series, which I believe is the last. Fortunately for you, I do have the other 4, so it's not a gap. Reminding you what the House of Night series is about. Enter the dark magical world of the House of Night. A world very much like our own, except here vampires, with a Y, have always existed. 16-year-old Zoe Redbird has just been marked as a fledgling vampire and joins the House of Night, a school where she will train to become an adult vampire. That is, if she makes it through the change. And not all of those who are marked do. It sucks to begin a new life, especially away from her friends, and on top of that, Zoe is no average fledgling. She has been chosen as special by the vampire goddess Nyx. Zoe discovers she has amazing powers, but along with her powers come bloodlust and an unfortunate ability to imprint her human ex-boyfriend. To add to her stress, she is not the only fledgling at the House of Night with special powers. When she discovers that the leader of the Dark Daughters, the school's most elite group, is misusing her goddess-given gifts, Zoe must look deep within herself for the courage to embrace her destiny, with a little help from her new vampire friends. And by the time we reach number 5, what if the hottest guy in the world was hiding his nameless evil and all he wanted was you? Wow, sounds like Zoe has problems. You thought being a regular teenager was hard. White Teeth, Red Blood, Selected Vampire Verses. Oh, it's a poetry book. Oh, with an introduction by Claire Coda. We talked about Claire Coda before. She's the author of Woman Eating, which is the book about a vampire who wishes she could eat Japanese food but can't because she can only eat blood. And she lives in an artist's loft studio space and she paints. And she's always hungry, and she must reconcile the conflict within her between being a woman and an artist, and a vampire, just being hungry all the time. Apparently she edited this book of poetry, of vampire poetry. No, she did the introduction of this book of poetry. Seductively sinister, both frightening and alluring, the undead have always been the perfect vessel for humanity's fears and desires. The poems in this collection of dark delights range across the centuries and languages. Poems that tell stories, offer warnings, and imagine life in the shadows by writers such as Lord Byron, Emily Dickinson, Charles Baudelaire, Anna Letitia Baudelaire, Ishmael Reed, and many more. Poems to make your blood run cold. Poems to make your heart beat faster. Poems to sink your teeth into. So is it just like a bunch of public domain poems? Claire Coda's debut novel, Women Eating, was a New Yorker Book of the Year. Her essays, short fiction, and reviews have appeared in Guardian, TLS, Financial Times, and New York Times, amongst many other outlets. So Lenore is in here, of course. I love that poem, Lenore. Anyone my fledgling spawn after that? The Bride of Corinth, Thalaba the Destroyer, The Dark Lady, The Vampire, Stags the Vampire, Byron's The Gower, Christabel, Maud, The Distant Moon, Ossenfelder's The Vampire, La Belle Dame sans Merci, Adele's The Vampire Bride, Maxwell's The Vampire, Metamorphosis of the Vampire, Daughter of Eve, Cowan's The Vampire, Kipling's The Vampire, Aiken's The Vampire, Millet's Witchwife, Johnson's The White Witch, To a Little Invisible Being Who is Expected Soon to Become Visible. Ah, why? Because of the Dazzling Sun, Bronte. A death blow is a life blow to some, the Mona Lisa paragraph from the Renaissance, Auguste's The Vampire, Yeats' Oil and Blood, I Am a Cowboy of the Boat of Ra, Pocket Vampire, and Charles Baudelaire and I Meet in the Oval Garden by John Yao. Oh, at least they have some non-white people in here. Her introduction starts with, when I was asked to introduce this book, I thought that I was perhaps the worst person to do so. So this wasn't her idea. It's not like she had the idea to compile a book of public domain poetry, but someone had the idea to put together a book of public domain poems and ask her to be the introducer for it. I like the cover design. And some of these are really cool poems. I would disagree that some of them are vampiric verses, but I could see what they were going for. They'll go together nicely on my shelf. Vampires, Werewolves, Zombies, Compendium Monstrum. This cute little book is something that my mom found for me. Little tiny, adorable non-fiction book. From the papers of Herr Dr. Max Strom and Baron Ludwig von Drong, collected and arranged by Renee J. Smith and Margaret Rubiano, with additional supplementary material, illustrated by Bruce Waldman. It's got some really cool illustrations in here, which I know you can't see because my lights are too bright. Vampire facts, werewolf facts, and zombie facts. I don't know how accurate these facts are. Footprints, the way to track a vampire. It wears shoes. Way to track a werewolf. It wears shoes, and the shoes switch to human feet, and the feet switch to wolf feet. The way to track a zombie. It's barefoot, and it goes random. This is adorable. Like that small, it can fit in your pocket, so when you're out in the field tracking beasties, you can just whip it out and check your facts. It's precious. Precious. The Vampires, The Occult Truth by Konstantinos. Who's Konstantinos? He has studied the occult for almost 10 years and has helped several victims of psychic vampire attacks. He is also the author of Summoning Spirits, The Art of Magical Evocation. When did this come out? The book looks like it takes itself very seriously. This is from 1998. Vampires exist. The facts are stranger than anything you may know, have read, heard, or imagined before now. Vampires, they really exist, and this book rips away the myth to expose their habits and lifestyles. Vampires, The Occult Truth divulges actual first-person encounters with vampires of all types, the ancient undead of folklore, contemporary mortal blood drinkers, and the most dangerous creatures of all, psychic vampires, who intentionally drain the life force from their victims. In Vampires, you'll find many never-before-published case histories of recent contact with vampires and their victims, including those encountered in the flesh by the author himself. You'll read letters from modern vampires that tell of their hidden lives. You'll even learn a fail-safe way to protect yourself from a psychic vampire attack. Vampires, Fact or Fiction. Uncover the chilling truth about the legend that refuses to die. Yeah, this book takes itself very seriously. About Llewellyn's Occult Truth series. For centuries, tales of weird creatures have fascinated and terrified people all over the world. Yesterday's monsters, vampires, ghosts, and werewolves live on in our imaginations today, inspiring enormously popular books, movies, and television series. But few of us believe that these creatures are anything more than legends, albeit legends that still have the power to give us a distinct chill. Are stories of mysterious blood drinkers and shadowy wraiths simply a reflection of our collective fear of the unknown? Or are these stories so compelling because we sense the truth hidden behind the legends? The Occult Truth series searches out this hidden truth. It presents books that combine solid esoteric theories, first-hand accounts by witnesses, and an open-minded perspective to dig out the essential truth that has been buried under the fairy tales and ghost stories. How to explain the inexplicable. Do these uncanny creatures of legend exist, or don't they? The Occult Truth series provides all the evidence you need to decide for yourself. In the Shadow of the Vampire, Reflections from the World of Anne Rice by Jana Marcus. Introduction by Catherine Ramsland. Catherine Ramsland is the person who wrote the Vampire Companion and the Witch Companion to Anne Rice's books. She's also written a biography of Anne Rice. She worked very closely with Anne Rice to write companion works to her books, but they are not entirely accurate. Like, they're useful. There's a lot of good stuff in there, but they are not entirely accurate. She wrote the introduction to this. This book was for sale in the Garden District bookshop in New Orleans, but I think it was autographed by Anne Rice or something. It was very expensive. And someone was telling me about seeing it there. I didn't get the chance to go out to the Garden District and see it, but they told me they saw it there and how expensive it was. But I went online and looked for it and found just like an old used copy of it for a much more affordable price. So I went ahead and ordered it because the person selling it in the bookshop talked it up. It sounded really interesting. Let me tell you why. Anne Rice has single-handedly repopularized the vampire genre for a massive international audience of every age and social class. In the Shadow of the Vampire offers a close-up view of her devotees and disciples, fangs and all. A close-up view of her fans. This is a book about Anne Rice fans from 1997. This is a book about Anne Rice fans in the pre-internet era, practically. Over 100 photographs from Anne Rice's Memnoch Ball in New Orleans, as well as other events, serve as a portrait of this growing subculture. Yeah, Memnoch Ball was in 1995, so October 1995. So that's when this book was compiled. Like, it didn't come out till 1997, but when they took the photographs and interviewed the people in this book, it was during the Memnoch Ball, so 1995. That's like, nobody was in fan culture groups online. Like, we didn't have online fandom back then. So this is about Anne Rice fans in the wild and the way that fandom was back then in that era. And I'm fascinated to find out about that. I became an Anne Rice fan maybe 1998 when I first got the internet. Like, when internet fandom first existed, like, that's when I first became a fan of anything. Because internet fandom existed. That's how I became a fan of things. I didn't know you could be a fan of things before fandom online and people being fans with me existed. Like, before that, I just liked things. Like, that's different than being in a fandom, right? Like, I didn't have community in person. I've never had community in person, only online. But if you could go to the Memnoch Ball in New Orleans, you could be in a community. You could find people in person. Or that they had other ways. They had zines. They had handwritten mailing lists. They mailed letters to each other. The photographs illustrate the themes the readers relate to in their fantasies and everyday lives, and the extremes to which they will go to be close to their mentor. Dressing up in costumes is extremes. The subjects of the photographs, the fans themselves, explain in accompanying interviews their spiritual relationships to romance, eroticism, loneliness, bloodlust, or outsider status of the characters in the book. From the people who sleep in coffins, to the teenage goth rockers, to the HIV-positive man who found a deep allegorical comfort in the vampire Lestat, the responses range from the burlesque to the sublime. The person who wrote this, Jana Marcus, has been producing award-winning documentary photography for over 15 years. She's the winner of UC Berkeley's International Photojournalism Contest in 1994. Doesn't say anything about her being a vampire fan, just being a documentarian. So yeah, it consists of photos of fans that she met at the Memnoch Ball, I guess, and then interviews that she had with them about how they relate to Anne Rice's work and why they love it, why they're vampire fans, what vampires mean to them, what Louis and Lestat and Anne Rice mean to them, why they came to the ball, so on. And there's a real mix of gender in here, which is interesting to me because the fandom online is so women heavy. You barely see any cis men in the fandom now, but there's a lot of men in here. So I'm really interested to read about all the different perspectives in here. So thank you, friend, for putting this on my radar. Speaking of Anne Rice, these are not vampire books. These are other Anne Rice books, and you know we love her, so we're going to talk about her. And I've got more Anne Rice related things that we're going to get to, but we're sticking to books for now. This is a copy of Anne Rice's book, The Mummy, or Ramses of the Damned, which I've talked to you about before because I have other copies of it, but thank you for sending me this copy of The Mummy. I do not have this cover of The Mummy, and I love collecting other covers of her books. So the cool thing about The Mummy is that Universal Studios was going to reboot its old Universal monster movie, The Mummy, back in the 90s, which, as you know, they did. The Brendan Fraser movie, The Mummy, eventually came out. But before they came up with that movie, Anne Rice submitted a script for spec on, like, I want to be the author of the Mummy reboot. And her premise for the Mummy reboot was, but what if the Mummy was hot? And, like, she wanted to give the Mummy sex appeal. And it was very much based on the original 1930s Boris Karloff Mummy movie. Like, if you read her Mummy script, there's a lot that's pulled from that Mummy movie. Like, you know, it's not a direct retelling of the movie, but there's a lot of bits from that. And they rejected her script. They did not use her script. But she took that script and she turned it into a novel, which is this novel. But the rest of that story is that when they did eventually put out the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie and she saw it, she saw a lot of bits in that movie from her script that weren't based on the original Universal movie, like stuff that was specifically from her script and not based on the movie. And she was very annoyed because she never saw a dime from that. So they took her script, they took ideas from her script, rejected her, didn't pay her, and then wrote their own Mummy reboot script using her ideas, and she was not happy. But she did make her own novel out of her script. So the fun thing about this novel is it is a very cinematic novel because it was originally based on a screenplay, so it does follow much more of a 3-act structure than some of her other novels, so it does read more of a traditional novel book format than like a literary novel format. When I say traditional, I mean like modern contemporary novels that have like a beginning, a middle, and an end, and less sort of like meandering, feelingsy. So if Anne Rice has ever felt like too purple prosy and too like esoteric for you, you might enjoy this novel because it is more of like a 3-act structure novel, and it's fun and it's exciting and it's a romp and it's adventures in 1920s, 1930s England, and then Egypt with the mummy coming back to life. And then there are bad guys trying to steal the mummy's powers of being able to come back to life because he does it with a magic potion. And Cleopatra's there. She comes back to life too. And there's romance because the mummy is hot. When he comes back to life, he's very hot. And he falls in love with the main chick. And she actually likes him back this time. And there's queer characters. And they're not villainized. I love this book. This is probably my favorite Anne Rice book that's not a vampire book. I love it. The Wolf Gift by Anne Rice in hardback, first edition, and paperback. The paperback was a Christmas gift. I actually just read this, just finished reading this. The sequel is a Christmas book, so I wanted to read it in time to read the sequel at Christmas time. So I read it before Christmas, hoping I would get a copy for Christmas. So I didn't own it when I read it. I read the ebook. And then I actually got the physical copy as Christmas gift. And now I own it. And I also read the sequel for Christmas because the sequel takes place at Christmas. It's called The Wolves of Midwinter. I don't own that one yet. But what I was not expecting about reading this book is that it is a superhero origin story. It's about a guy who gets bitten by a werewolf and becomes a werewolf. And he uses his werewolf powers to eat bad guys and solve crimes. So but he has to keep his secret identity, and he's also trying to figure out, like, what's happening to me? Why am I transforming into this super sexy, hairy monster that can solve crimes? So yeah, it's like a superhero origin story novel. And then the second book is he's discovered what he is. He's met, like, the other werewolves, and they all come together. And then it's Christmas time, and they all have, like, giant Christmas werewolf festivities. So that was fun. So in 2003-ish, Anne Rice wrote her last vampire book, A Blood Canticle, and she said she was officially done writing vampire books. She'd written her last vampire book, she was done, and she didn't want to write about vampires anymore. She originally said it was because vampires were evil. They had to kill people to live, and she didn't want to write about evil anymore. She had just returned to Christianity, to her Christian faith, to her Catholicism. She briefly rejoined the Catholic Church, but then she decided she didn't like organized religion. She didn't like the way the church was run, so she left the church, but she kept her faith, and she didn't want to write about evil creatures anymore. So she wrote some books about the lives of Jesus, she wrote some books about angels, and she wrote some books about werewolves. She eventually did go back to writing vampires and made them less evil, but she, I guess she decided werewolves weren't evil because they don't have to kill people to live. Though he does kill people, he eats people as a werewolf, and he really enjoys eating them, and then he's conflicted about it. He doesn't have to, but he does it anyway. So this was written in 2012, during her I'm done with vampires era. Kind of at the very end of it, because her next vampire book finally did come out in 2014, so this was like at the very end of her done with vampires era. A daring new departure from the inspired creator of the Vampire Chronicles, Lives of Mayfair Witches, and the Angels of the Songs of the Seraphim. A whole new world, modern, sleek, high-tech, and at its center a story as old and compelling as history. The making of a werewolf, reimagined and reinvented as only Anne Rice, teller of mesmerizing tales, conjurer of extraordinaire of other realms, could create it. The time is the present. The place is the rugged coast of Northern California, a bluff high above the Pacific, a grand mansion full of beauty and tantalizing history set against a towering redwood forest. A young reporter on assignment from the San Francisco Observer, an older woman welcoming him into her magnificent family home. Older woman, she's like 38, she is not older. That he has been sent to write about, and that she must sell with some urgency. A chance encounter between two unlikely people. An idyllic night shattered by horrific, unimaginable violence. The young man inexplicably attacked, bitten by a beast he cannot see in the rural darkness. A violent episode that sets in motion a terrifying yet seductive transformation as the young man, caught between ecstasy and horror, between embracing who he is evolving into and fearing what he will become, soon experiences the thrill of the wolf gift. As he resists the paradoxical pleasure and enthrallment of his wolven savagery and delights in the power and surprising capacity for good, he is caught up in a strange and dangerous rescue and is desperately hunted as the man-wolf by authorities, the media, and scientists. Evidence of DNA threatens to reveal his dual existence as a new and profound love enfolds him. Questions emerge that propel him deeper into his mysterious new world. Questions of why and how he has been given this gift, of its true nature and the curious but satisfying pull towards goodness, of the profound realization that there may be others like him who are watching, guardian creatures who have existed throughout time, who possess ancient secrets and alchemical knowledge, and throughout it all, the search for salvation for a soul tormented by a new realm of temptations, and the fraught, exhilarating journey still to come of being and becoming fully both wolf and man. So yeah, the thing is that as a wolf, he can smell evil. And when he smells it, he is like driven into a frenzy to destroy it. So when he smells bad guys as like this superhero character, he just wants to like tear them apart and eat them. And if he does bite someone as a werewolf without killing them, they do become a werewolf. But like usually he's not going to bite someone without completely destroying them, because if they smell evil to him, he will completely destroy them. And if they don't smell evil to them, he has no desire to bite them or anything. So it's like this superpower that he has. And he can hear voices calling to him in the night, voices calling for help. So he is this superhero character that turns into this giant, sexy wolf man. And he doesn't turn into like an actual wolf. He is a wolf man. And of course, because it is an Anne Rice book, it does feel like an orgasm to him every single time he transforms. She knew what she liked. Speaking of her, I'm only going to write about goodness phase. I also received from my brother her 2 Angel books, Angel Time and the sequel of Love and Evil. I did not realize how small these books were. I thought these were going to be giant books like the Wolf books and the Vampire books, especially the sequel. Look how tiny this book is. I don't have the copy of the sequel to the Wolf Gift, but the Wolves of Midwinter is like big. So after she wrote her books about the life of Jesus Christ, like Jesus as a little boy growing up and becoming Jesus's origin story, she wrote books about angels. This is from 2009. Anne Rice returns to the mesmerizing storytelling that has captivated readers for more than 3 decades in a tale of unceasing suspense set in time past, a metaphysical thriller about angels and assassins. The novel opens in the present. At its center, Toby O'Dare, a contract killer of underground fame on assignment to kill once again. A soulless soul, a dead man walking, he lives under a series of aliases. Just now, Lucky the Fox, and takes his order from the right man. Into O'Dare's nightmarish world of lone and lethal missions comes a mysterious stranger, a seraph, who offers him a chance to save rather than destroy lives. O'Dare, who long ago dreamt of being a priest, but instead came to embody danger and violence, seizes his chance. Now he is carried back through the ages to 13th century England, to dark realms where accusations of ritual murder have been made against Jews, where children suddenly die or disappear. In this primitive setting, O'Dare begins his perilous quest for salvation, a journey of danger and flight, loyalty and betrayal, selflessness and love. So he goes back in time to become a hero instead of an assassin with a seraph buddy. In the sequel, Toby O'Dare goes to 15th century Rome. Oh, fun. He really gets to hop around all sorts of time travel in his powerful journey of atonement. Nice. For you, Toby. What time is it? It's angel time. This is the Roquelaire. I can never pronounce this. The Roquelaire Reader, a companion to Anne Rice's erotica, by Catherine Ramsland, our good friend Catherine Ramsland, written in cooperation with Anne Rice. This is the official guide to Anne Rice's Sleeping Beauty novels. These are Anne Rice's Sleeping Beauty novels, which she wrote under the pen name A.N. Roquelaire in the early 80s, between Interview with the Vampire and The Vampire Lestat. And they are erotic BDSM pornography novels. That's why she wrote them under a pen name, because they are very, very erotic. And it is a trilogy of novels of Sleeping Beauty fan fiction, where Sleeping Beauty goes to a BDSM dungeon castle situation and, you know, has sexy adventures where she gets claimed. The first one's called The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty. The second one's called Beauty's Punishment. And the third one's called Beauty's Release. So, you know, she has a full little journey. In this exquisite trilogy, Anne Rice has envisioned a hypnotic and seductive adult fairy tale. So I found this, the Reader Companion, which someone recommended because the Catherine Ramsland compares some stuff in here of the Sleeping Beauty trilogy to the vampire books. And I was like, well, I want to read about the vampire books. So even though I haven't even read the Sleeping Beauty books yet, I wanted to get this book to read about how they compare to the vampire books. Anne Rice's mega-selling vampire novels had made her name famous throughout the world, but in the early 1980s, Anne Rice wrote novels of a different kind under another name. That name was, I can't pronounce his name. The Sleeping Beauty trilogies were masterpieces of exquisite, unblushing erotica, ranking with such classics as The Story of O and Anais Nin's Delta of Venus. Gems of the unfettered imagination, they celebrate a world of intermingled pleasure and pain, subjugation and satisfaction, enslavement and liberation, that few other writers have been bold and brilliant enough to bring to such lyrical life. In this book, Catherine Ramsland, Anne Rice's acclaimed biographer, as well as close friend, describes not only the novels, but 2 other erotic novels Anne Rice wrote as Anne Rampley. Oh, that would be Belinda and Exit to Eden, which we have also discussed. Those are contemporary novels that Anne wrote. One is about a pleasure island that a guy goes to because he wants to just, get whipped and stuff. And another is sort of her take on Lolita about an age gap relationship that's also S&M-y. She places this body of erotica within the context of Anne Rice's life, thought, and work, profiles the key characters, and details the special features of each novel. She discusses the novel's relationship to the erotic literary tradition and to feminist and sexual libertarian values. She provides wonderful trivia quizzes for readers and includes 2 chapters cut from the novel Exit to Eden. For all who wish to savor fully this important aspect of Anne Rice's unique genius, this is an essential, irresistible reading. Ooh, so it includes cut chapters from Exit to Eden? Interesting. So yeah, you gotta do your scholarly due diligence about all of Anne Rice's porn. The Unauthorized Anne Rice Companion by George Beam. Not to be confused with the Authorized Anne Rice Companions by Catherine Ramsland. Unauthorized Anne Rice Companion is a skeleton key that opens the door to Anne Rice's haunted worlds. It's the same author as the Stephen King Companion. This is the first general interest book, resource guide, and reference work for Rice's millions of fans. When did this come out? 1996. Well, Catherine Ramsland's books came out before then. Were they not general interest enough because they were about her books, not about her? Jam-packed with nearly 70 articles, interviews, profiles, and sidebars, The Unauthorized Anne Rice Companion is the book her fans have been waiting for, an authoritative compilation that draws on 2 decades of Rice in the media. Oh, cool, so it's just a collection of, every interview, newspaper article, and thing that was about her. Nice! So now I don't have to just Google all that stuff on my own. Thank you. Saves me time on the Wayback Machine. Profusely illustrated with haunting photos by New Orleans photographer Scott Stewart and new photos by George Beam taken especially for this book, The Unauthorized Anne Rice Companion is a heady witch's brew of information that will slake the thirst of any Anne Rice fan. Thematically organized in 5 sections, the book provides a wealth of information about Anne Rice from multiple perspectives: freelance writers, journalists, critic interviewers, and from self-published text, Rice herself. The Real World of Anne Rice provides an overview of her career in chronology with articles by hometown journalists on her residences in New Orleans and a rare in-depth interview with Rice on the bewitching aspects of the city itself. The Unreal World of Anne Rice explores the worlds of publishing and fandom that surround her. The Playboy interview is supplemented by articles on her fan club, a first-hand report of the 1995 Memnote Ball, articles on collecting Rice's limited editions, and interviews with a Rice illustrator and a bookseller. On Anne Rice explores her writing through the eyes of her chroniclers, critics, and journalists. Catherine Ramsland explains why she wrote a Rice biography. Dr. Mike Collings and Betty B. Roberts write about the vampire tradition in literature, and profiles and interviews by Stanley Waiter and a bunch of other guys that illuminate her literary landscape. Shira Roscrow, Anne Rice and the Cinema, explores her endless fascination with the cinema and the film adaptation of Interview with the Vampire. In a lengthy interview conducted by Ramsland, Rice explains the art of horror in film. Also, film critic Roger Ebert reviews Interview with the Vampire, and Rice herself, in self-published texts, comments at length in a Variety ad, in her Commotion Strange, and in a pamphlet about the movie. Wow, okay. That's quite a collection of things. A look at the books, reprints, key book and audio reviews of her supernatural novel. Ooh, it prints the audio reviews! The appendices provide detailed information on her published books, books about her and her work, and various adaptations. Also, a detailed resource section is included that explains where the reader can go for more information. Required reading for any Rice fan. It's indispensable, compulsively readable, and the cornerstone for any serious Rice book collector. Well, thank you. I am a serious Rice book collector. That's me. That's me you're talking about right there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Books 3 and 4 in the graphic novel edition of Fangirl. Yes, these do count as vampire books. I already showed you. I got these for Christmas from my brother. He gave me books 2 and 1 last year. Now I have the full set. There's a vampire. There's a vampire right there in the back. You see? There's a vampire. It counts. Graphic novel, manga style, in English, I'm told front ways instead of back ways. Based on the novel Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, which is a book about a girl who goes off to college, and all of her high school life she's been obsessed in fandom. And the fandom is a vampire fandom. It is a fandom about kind of like a fake Harry Potter world, but one of the main characters is a vampire. So she's constantly writing fan fiction about these characters, and there's excerpts of the fan fiction throughout the novel, so we get to see this vampire character throughout the novel. So these graphic novels do have parts of that vampire character. So yes, these count as vampire books. Rainbow Rowell did write offshoot stories just about the characters from the fake fandom that the fangirl is into, called Carry On, and then there's 2 sequels to Carry On. So if you just want to read about the vampire character and his friends, you can read Carry On. There are not graphic novel versions of Carry On, but now I have the full set of the graphic novel of Fangirl. I love Fangirl. It is a wonderful novel. As a person who has been obsessed in fandom, especially when I went off to college and how it did kind of consume my college life, I very much related to that book. And I love graphic novels, so thank you. The Grimrose Girls, which last time we spoke, I told you that I had gotten the sequel to this book, so I put the first book in the series on my wish list, and my father got it for me for Christmas, so thank you. So I can finally tell you what it's about, because I didn't want to tell you what the sequel was about, because I didn't want to find out spoilers, but now we're going to look at this one. One murdered girl, 4 troubled friends, and a fate they can't escape. I like the covers. I don't think it's a vampire book, but it definitely looks gothy, so we're going to talk about it in the Vampire Library. It's got roses and thorns and apples and murder. After the mysterious death of their best friend, Ella, Yuki, and Rory are the talk of their elite school, Grimrose Academy. The police ruled Arion's death as a suicide, but the trio is determined to find out what really happened. When Nani Esses arrives as their newest roommate, it sets into motion a series of events that no one could have predicted. As the girls retrace their friends' final days, they discover a dark secret about Grimrose. Arion wasn't the first dead girl. They soon learn that all the past murders are connected to ancient fairy tale curses, and that their own fates are tied to the stories, dooming the girls to brutal and gruesome endings unless they can break the cycle for good. So it's a fairy tale retelling, and each of them is one of the fairy tale princesses. And once they figure out like what their fairy tale princess equivalent is, they know like what their fate's gonna be, and they're trying to break the cycle. So I can't tell from the name. I guess Ella is gonna be Cinderella, but from the others, I can't really tell what. I mean, Yuki is probably Snow White, I'm guessing, but who knows what the other ones are gonna be. A suspenseful, thrilling tale full of all the dark magic, swoon-worthy romance, and courageous heroines we know and love from our favorite fairy tales. I love fairy tale retellings. I love retellings of anything, especially when you mash them together. It's like a monster mash, but with princesses. A princess mash. I always said that Disney princesses were the monster mash of the modern era. Or was it that I was saying that the Universal monsters were the Disney princesses of yore? It should be the other way around. Universal monsters came first. So this is Dungeon Crawler Carl, which I read with my IRL book club, and it doesn't have any vampires on it, but it has about every other monster gothic thing that you can think of, because it takes place in like a Dungeons and Dragons world where pretty much every kind of monster exists. And who knows, vampires may show up eventually. So Carl is just a guy. And what happens is that aliens come and take over his world. But to be fair, instead of just killing all the humans, they send any human who can make it into a giant dungeon and tell them that if they defeat the dungeon, they can live. And the dungeon is basically Dungeons and Dragons, and they give them like powers and boosts and prize boxes and stuff. And Carl is stuck in there with his cat, and his cat gets the power to talk. So his cat is a member of his D&D party. And Carl is going through this dungeon, defeating monsters and, you know, generally being awesome and having a really horrible time without any shoes. And I read this book for my IRL book club, and it was tons of fun. If you are a D&D player, person like me, I recommend it if you like that kind of stuff. Of course, the D&D campaign I play is Curse of Strahd, which does have vampires in it. At least Strahd. Some other vampires. mostly Strahd. So I bought this book for my IRL book club, and then I put the sequels on my wish list for Christmas. And my brother bought me the sequels. Oh my god, look how big these books are. These are not all the sequels. I'm still missing a couple. But thank you. I'm gonna have to see if any vampires actually show up in these books. But if you like dungeon monsters and just monsters and goblins and beasts and ghouls in general, there are plenty of them. Plenty of them, and aliens, and all sorts of other creatures. Plus, it's funny. These books are hilarious. I guess I could, like, actually read you the flap. The apocalypse will be televised. You know what's worse than breaking up with your girlfriend? Being stuck with her prize-winning show cat. And you know what's worse than that? An alien invasion, the destruction of all man-made structures on Earth, and the systematic exploitation of all the survivors for a sadistic intergalactic game show. That's what. Join Coast Guard vet Carl and his ex-girlfriend's cat princess Donut as they try to survive the end of the world, or just get to the next level, in a video game-like trap-filled fantasy dungeon. A dungeon that's actually the set of a reality television show with countless viewers across the galaxy. Exploding goblins, magical potions, deadly drug-dealing llamas, this ain't your ordinary game show. Welcome, Crawler. Welcome to the dungeon. Survival is optional. Keeping the viewers entertained is not. Yes, of course, the talking cat Princess Donut is everyone's favorite character. 2 beautiful copies of Phantom of the Opera. These are the public domain English translations, so there's nothing really special about the text. These are just beautiful for the covers, and especially because these covers match the sets that I have of other Gothic novels. I collect matching sets of Gothic novels. So I have Dracula, Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, Dorian Gray, Sherlock Holmes in this same set, and I didn't have Phantom in this set, and I didn't think they made Phantom in this set because I couldn't find it, but my friend in the UK found it. I guess maybe they just didn't release it in America, but the UK version that makes this matching set had it, and as well as this, the Chiltern Classics set, which is beautiful. It's got gilt edge pages. I love this. It's this embossed cover with these bumpy flowers on it. A little golden mask. It's beautiful. These like glossy pages. So pretty. These 2 came all the way from England to join my other Gothic book collection, public domain matching edition sets. Now will be complete because Phantom is part of them. The most important book in the collection. This cloth-bound cover edition is the Penguin Classics, which you'd think they would have in America, but apparently I just never was able to find the Phantom copy. Speaking of Phantom, it's here! This is book 2 of the graphic novel version of Phantom of the Opera by Becky Laugh. This was a Kickstarter project. I got book 1 last year, the year before. I shared this with you previously, but book 2 is finally here. The campaign is finished. Beautiful graphic novel version. It came with a sticker sheet. It tells the full original novel in Becky Laugh's own rendition with all of her gorgeous art. And between the 2 books, the full novel's story is told. So now I have the full book version of Phantom of the Opera. I love this artist's art. It's gorgeous. This just came in the mail like 2 weeks ago. I'm so glad it came in time for me to show you. Just look at him. Look at it. I don't know if you could still get this. I don't know how the whole backer kit thing Kickstarter worked, like if you could still buy stuff after the campaign is over, but just look it up. Phantom of the Opera by Becky Laugh, Laff. See if you can find it. So worth it. The first one, I think, at least might be available on Amazon. If it is, it will definitely be included in that link that I have below in the description, where you can click the link and like buy the things. I also got the tote bag that she was doing with the project. It's got the scene from Masquerade on there. The matching tote bag. Sticker sheet of the stickers that I will never use because they're too precious. I never want to use them up. The regular Volume 8 of Lore Olympus. I showed you the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of Volume 8 last time. Now I finally have the regular Volume 8 because my dad always gets these for me for Christmas. So I'm catching up. And Volume 9 in the regular and the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. Volume 9 in both. With the 2 variant covers. Aren't they gorgeous? Getting so close to the end of the story. And have you heard they are doing a animated series of Lore Olympus? It's happening! It's happening! I think Amazon Prime is going to have it. I'm so happy! I love absolutely everything about the series. I love Rachel Smythe, the author and artist. I love how her brain works. I love the way she draws things. I just love her interpretation of the ideas of Greek mythology and how to take those ideas and make a modern story out of it to tell to modern audiences that's unique and different. Because you can like tell a ancient Greek story the way the ancient Greeks told it, sure. Or you can adapt it. That's what adaptation is for. Adapting things means making it different. So the way Lore Olympus is adapted is it modernizes it. Like it's still set in ancient Greece, but because the gods are gods, they have modern technology and modern cities and they live in a modern world. So it's like this weird anachronistic double world where modernness and modern ideas exist at the same time as ancient world and ancientness. So you get like the best of both worlds. It's amazing. I love it. Even though I have these print books and I'm like keeping them for posterity, I still recommend reading it online. Like the way the comic was written was for vertical scrolling format. And I still think that's better than reading in print. Like you should definitely get these books so that you have them forever because they're gorgeous, but read them vertically on your phone, because it is the best way to read them. This is something I kickstarted forever ago, which I like kind of forgot I kickstarted this, and it finally came. So these are the collected comic book editions of the Disney's Gargoyles comic books. So Disney's Gargoyles was my absolutely favoriteest TV show ever when I was a child, and it was on 1994 to 1996, maybe 97. So I was like 11 to 13 years old. Very formative years of my life. And when Gargoyles got canceled, the original creator of Gargoyles, Greg Weisman, continued the stories in comic form. And with, you know, the help of others, it became a big thing. They made a whole lot of comics about it. So there was a Kickstarter for it. 2 years ago, I want to say. Now, it's been a while, where they were saying they were coming out with this super fancy hardback bound, leather bound slipcase edition of the comic books. And I couldn't afford those. They were very expensive. So I just got like the regular hardback versions of the comic books. I never read the comics. Like they completely passed me by. I didn't even know they made comics back then. I was a tiny child. I didn't even know that a TV show could be continued in comic book form. I thought when it was canceled, that was just it, that it was over. And I mourned, I grieved. But the comics, so now I have them. Now I can actually read them and like find out like all the whole rest of the story and like what went on. So there's 3 volumes here. Volume 1 is the classic years. And from just flipping through, these just came in the mail yesterday. Just flipping through it, it looks like stories that take place kind of during the time of the episodes of the show. Like some, like not necessarily after the show finished, but from what I can tell, some of these take place before the show finished. Just glancing briefly, I may be wrong. And then volume 2 is called Clan Building. Volume 3 is called Bad Guys. That sounds very up my alley. Very excited about the Bad Guys. The volume 3 is all in black and white. It's not color like the others. You know, they did with it good. And with it came, which I was not expecting, this volume 1 Gargoyles Quest by Greg Weisman. This is a brand new comic book and it's dated last year? No, 2024. I guess that's 2 years ago now. So apparently a new run of Gargoyles comics came out 2 years ago, since it's now 2026. I didn't know Gargoyles comics were still existing. I don't know how many issues of this there was, if this is number 1. So was there a whole run of Gargoyles Quest? Now I'm going to have to go look this up and find out, because I want them all. I have to read every Gargoyles thing that ever exists. I mean, if it's written by Greg Weisman, then it is the story that I want to read. It's like finding out someone that you thought died 30 years ago has been alive this entire time. Having adventures. Fighting bad guys. Ugh. Portrait of a Killer. Jack the Ripper, Case Closed by Patricia Cornwall. My mom was clearing out her library and she gave me a whole stack of Patricia Cornwall books, most of which I didn't think you would be that interested in. But since this one is Jack the Ripper book, I had to look up this one. America's #1 best-selling crime writer solves the case that has baffled experts for more than a century. So she thinks she really has solved the Jack the Ripper case. This is from 2002. Between August and November 1888, at least 7 women were murdered in London's Whitechapel area. The gruesome nature of their deaths caused panic and fear in the East End for months and gave rise to the sobriquet that was become the shorthand for the serial killer Jack the Ripper. For over 100 years, the murders have remained among the world's greatest unsolved crimes, and a wealth of theories have been posited which have pointed the finger at royalty, a barber, a doctor, a woman, and an artist. Using her formidable range of forensic and technical skills, Patricia Cornwall has applied the rigorous discipline of 21st century police investigation to the extant material, and here presents the hard evidence that the perpetrator was the world-famous artist Walter Sickert. By using techniques unknown in the late Victorian age, Patricia Cornwall has exposed Sickert as the author of the infamous Ripper letters to the Metropolitan Police. Her detailed analysis of his paintings show how his art continually depicted his horrific mutilation of his victims, and her examination of this man's birth defects, the consequent genital surgical interventions, and their effects on his upbringing presents a casebook example of how a psychopathic killer is created. With her knowledge of criminal investigation and her consummate skills as a best-selling writer, Patricia Cornwall has produced a book which is as compelling as it is authentic and which pays due respect to the people whose early deaths spawned one of the 20th century's least attractive entertainment industries. So I feel like I've heard people say that they disagree with this book and that there's more proof that he was actually someone else. So I don't know, how much stock to put into this. There's so many people that say, no, he was really this guy, no, he was really that guy. Who's to say that Patricia Cornwall, a novelist, has any more to say about anyone else? But, I suppose I should read it for myself and find out. What else did you send me? Some CDs. Here we have a copy of Phantom of the Opera, and a copy of Sunset Boulevard. Thank you. Two of my absolute all-time favorite musicals. An audiobook, Vampire Empire, Book 1, The Grey Friar, by Clay Griffith and Susan Griffith. Performed by James Marsters, who you would know as Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. 1870, a time known as the Great Killing. The vampire clans arose and slaughtered humanity with unprecedented carnage in the northern parts of the world. Millions perished. Millions were turned into herd animals. The great industrialized civilizations of the world were left in ruin. A remnant fled south to the safety of the ever-present heat, which was intolerable to vampires. There, blending with the local peoples, they rebuilt their societies founded on human integrity, steam, and iron. The year is now 2020. The Equatorian Empire, descendant of the British Empire, stretches from Alexandria to Cape Town. Princess Adele, quick-witted, combat-trained, and heir to the throne, is set to wed the scion of the American Republic, a man she has never met. Their marriage will cement an alliance between the nations and set the stage for war against the vampires in an attempt to retake the North. Prepared to do her duty, she finds herself caught in a web of political intrigue and physical danger. The Greyfair, a legendary vampire hunter from the North, appears, ready to rescue the princess and return her home, but he harbors secrets of his own. As the power struggle between the vampires and the humans increase, Adele and the Greyfriar are caught in the middle, on the run, being hunted, and fighting for not just their own lives, but for the future of humanity. This is from 2010. Fun. This unabridged audiobook cost $64.97. Wow. So I am very pleased that you sent me this decommissioned library edition with nine discs. Wow. I've never even heard of this book before. Lost Boys The Thirst, decommissioned rental copies. So this is that Lost Boys sequel that really came and went in 2010. The Frog Brothers are all grown up and they are back for blood. Corey Feldman returns as ace vampire hunter Edgar Frog. As the lost boys and girls of San Cazador prepare to party under the blood moon, an alpha vampire conspires to turn these unsuspecting ravers into an army of undead. The only thing that stands between him and the annihilation of the entire human race are the infamous vampire-fighting Frog Brothers. Armed with double-barreled holy water balloon launchers and multi-arrow crossbows, Edgar and Alan Frog join forces to kick some bloodsucker butt in this latest high-energy, action-packed adventure in the Lost Boys franchise. Wow. The pictures on the back, even though this is set in 2010, are very 1980s, so it shows me that they understood what people liked about the nostalgia of the original Lost Boys, and they stuck to it. I heard about this, and it came and went, and then I heard nothing more, so thank you for sending this to me. I definitely want to check this out. The Terror, starring Jack Nicholson and Boris Karloff. When is this from? 2004? This is from, the DVD's from 2004, but when is the movie actually from? This is definitely from much older than that. Jack Nicholson is such a baby in this. It doesn't say when it's actually from. A young officer, Jack Nicholson, in Napoleon's army, finds himself lost along a stretch of beach where he is seduced by the beautiful Helene. His obsession with this woman leads him to the castle of an elderly baron, Boris Karloff, who finds himself tortured by the ghost of his wife. Is Helene this ghost, or is she merely the pawn of a witch, intent on having the Baron commit suicide? With a creepy score and macabre setting, this chiller will have you on the edge of your seat. Wow, when was Jack Nicholson that young? 1960s? Oh, I've never heard of this. Vampire Journals. This DVD is from... Does it not say? It's Canadian. Doesn't even say when it's from. Oh, it's made by Full Moon. Full Moon Home Video. I'm God's most desolate creature, a vampire with a mortal heart. Well, ain't that true? I destroyed the one who spawned me, and I have sworn to destroy his entire bloodline, the ones who stole me from the warmth of the sun. For centuries I have traveled the earth, hunting the undead, but the most vicious, most powerful vampire master of all time, Ash, remains. Ash is only vulnerable when he gives into his passions, his love of music and women. He has found both in Sophia, a beautiful concert pianist. My one chance to strike him down approaches, but must I sacrifice the girl to do it? The pain of my quest intensifies with every breath. My hunger for blood is as strong as my hope for salvation. I can never forget that I, too, am a vampire. There's a chapter called Ash Ravishes Sophia. Wow, these images are very Phantom of the Opera-y. I am excited for Vampire Journals from the writer and director of the Subspecies trilogy. Yes. I wonder if it's supposed to be set in the Subspecies universe? I feel like I remember something about that. It might be a Subspecies spinoff. But, like, the tone looks very different. So this is Interview with the Vampire on Laserdisc, which Paul found for me when he was looking for records in an antique store. And we thought it was a record. I thought I was getting the Interview with the Vampire soundtrack, which is an amazing soundtrack on vinyl. But no, it is a Laserdisc of the movie, and it cost $1.98. And it is the full movie on glorious Laserdisc, which I will never be able to play because I do not know where I will ever find a Laserdisc player. My mom had one in like 1996, I think. Yeah. Wow. But I sure have this now. Sure do. For $1.98. Oh my god. I have so much more cool stuff to show you. What is all this stuff? This is a wine bottle of 19 Crimes Cabernet Sauvignon, Frankenstein Cabernet Sauvignon. This is the wine that I drank at my parents' house for Thanksgiving, and I had to keep the bottle. Frankenstein, or as my fledgling spawn called it, Frankenwine. It was pretty good. This is our Thanksgiving wine, was Frankenwine. Firm and full with a rich mouthfeel, aromatics of dark berries, violets, and vanilla. Frankenstein wasn't a monster. He was just upset people didn't want to hang out. So next time an 8-foot-tall guest arrives, pour him a glass. Indeed. Some very cool art. I got this at the Vampire Boutique in New Orleans when I was there for Halloween. This artist did a whole bunch of portraits of adorable animals in old-timey clothes. Of course, I picked the bat. This is Gentleman Bats. This is a Blasco bat. Nick Demakis is the name of the artist. His website is gentlemanbats.com. But he had all sorts of other gentleman animals. There were ravens and other beasties. But I thought this one was the cutest. I like that it was in the oval shape. I'm going to frame it and put it on my wall. This art print I got from an artist at the Geekery Market, which is a holiday market shopping that I go to before the holidays every year. It is the sheet music to the Night on Bald Mountain music that Schoenberg rocks out to in Fantasia. And he had art prints of his art superimposed on the sheet music to the songs of all sorts of theme songs from movies and Disney and cartoons and nostalgia things that you loved. And they were on sale, like buy one, get one, but I couldn't find another one that I loved as much as this one. So I just got one. But Schoenberg is one of my all-time favorite characters in anything ever. And I love Night on Bald Mountain just as music in general. So of course I had to get this one. And I love his art style too. Like, look at the way he drew Chernobyl. This gorgeous painting is from a gallery in New Orleans that I walk past on Rue Royale every time I go to New Orleans. And the gallery is always closed because I always walk there at night. And I always see this painting in the window. It's a print. So they had a few copies, and I'm always hoping that like I'd be able to go and get it one of these years. And this year the gallery was actually open, so I was able to go in there and get one of the canvas prints that the artist was selling. He had 2 left, and my friend and I each bought one. It was wonderful. I actually got to talk to the artist, and it turned out that he had worked in an extra on the Interview with the Vampire film when it was filming in New Orleans, like way back in 1993, and he was such a cool guy to talk to. What's his name on here? He doesn't even sign his art. He had tons of cool monster art in his gallery, like all your favorite monsters, and then tons of original ideas too. Lots of depictions of New Orleans haunted by ghosts and spirits, creepy things and cryptids and stuff too. But of course, this is Louis Lestat and Claudia haunting the French Quarter, which is why I love this one and saw it every year and desperately desired it. And now I finally have it. But you see the ghosts up here that he has haunting as well. So a lot of his other arts are just various ghosts haunting the French Quarter as well. But also, for the first time this year, he had more art of the Anne Rice characters. And I got this print as well of Lestat and Claudia eating a hapless victim, which I'm going to frame and hang. It was just such an amazing moment because my friends and I were walking past this gallery, which we walked past a million times, and it was always closed every single time we walked past, and it was just open this time. And we had walked past it earlier on our way to somewhere, and it was closed, and we were on our way back, and all of a sudden it was open, and we're like, and we like ran in there, and we like grabbed the things we wanted, and we were talking to the guy, and he was just like the nicest guy in the world, and I would have bought everything he had if I could afford it. But this is just gorgeous art. There's the signature. Oh, this print I got, because it was brand new, I got the first one. He did 100 of these prints. This is number 1 of 100. So I got the first one. As always, I had such an amazing time in New Orleans going there. I always go there for the Anne Rice Vampire Lestat Fan Club Vampire Ball on Halloween weekend, but I do a bunch of other vampire-y things while I'm there. And one of the things is the Tulane Archives Library, the Tulane University Library Archives had an event called the Archives After Dark, and I got a tote bag from there. And that is where Anne Rice's documents collection is hosted. And I go there and I read Anne Rice's journals whenever I have the time, sit down and read her diaries and journals and her drafts of her novels. And they had a bunch of her rarer books on display there. And also her son, Christopher Rice, and his partner, work partner, not romantic partner, Eric Shaw Quinn were there, and I got to meet them and talk to them a bit. And so that was a really cool event. But this Archives After Dark at the Tulane University Special Collection's got a witch. She's brewing. She's pouring a bunch of words in her cauldron. The Anne Rice Vampire Ball always comes with a goodie bag. And inside the goodie bag this year, there is a bottle of Stoker wines. So Stoker wines is a new wine label distributed by Dacre Stoker, the descendant of Bram Stoker, who we have discussed previously on my other channel. He is an author and historian and now wine distributor. Stoker Wines actually ended up with a few of these bottles because they gave them out at other events too. This wine was being very heavily promoted that weekend, so they were in a lot of different goodie bags. This bottle of Stoker Wines is a red blend. I love red blends. And so this wine is made in Transylvania near where Dracula is set. So that's why it is called Stoker Wines. That is the connection to Bram Stoker. That it is made, it's a Transylvanian red wine. I don't know anything about Transylvanian wine, like what the flavor palate quality of Transylvanian wine is like. I know nothing about it, so very curious to try Stoker Wines. Label's cool. This one has a couple guys opening up a coffin. Looks like they just staked a vampire and he's poofed. Here's another bottle that I got. This one is a red blend. This one's a 2020 red blend. 57% Merlot, 38% Cab Franc, and 5% Cab Sauv. This one's a 2021 red blend. That's 94% Merlot and 6% Cab Sauv. Wine that tells a story. The lost ending. Castle Dracula perishes with the Count himself. So this is a picture of Castle Dracula kind of exploding and the Count's coffin falling off the carriage. And this picture is called, Are We Certain the Count is Dead? So they're checking the coffin, making sure he's dead. This bottle is a 2023 red blend. It has 86% Merlot, 7% Cab Sauv, 7% Fetisha Negra. And this one shows the carriage going up to the castle. At the castle, Count waits with wine dark as his shadow. So it's the Count in his carriage. I guess this is like when Jonathan arrives at the castle and the Count picks him up in his carriage. Oh, I like that all the labels tell a different story. This goblet is from Potions Lounge, which is one of the vampire establishments owned by Marita Wayward Crandall, who owns the Vampire Cafe, Vampire Apothecary, Vampire Boutique. So Potions Lounge is the vampire speakeasy, and they had a Halloween event after the Vampire Ball. I went there, and there was a game that you had to play, and when you won the game, you got a goblet, and you went to the bar, and they filled it up with whatever drink you ordered, and this was my goblet. And there was a goodie bag there that you also got one of these bottles of wine. That's how I ended up with so many. One of the sponsors of the Vampire Ball is St. V. Van Gogh Absinthe. And so I got a little shot of absinthe and an absinthe spoon in my goodie bag. You always get a dance card in your goodie bag with a little pencil so you can write down your dances. And this acts as your program. There's a little map of the ball layout, shows you where everything is, and shows you credits of who worked on the ball. A lot of people will use this as a yearbook, and you can sort of write down names and have people sign your yearbook. Memorial pin. It was a Memnock Ball this year. Memnock Ball in 30th anniversary of the 1995 Memnock Ball, the 2025 Memnock Ball again. So the theme was heaven and hell. I dressed up devilishly. I had devil horns in my hair. I wore black and gold. This pin has devils dancing on it. An Anne Rice bookmark. I also went to the Endless Night Vampire Ball. This is my admission badge from the Endless Night Vampire Ball. The theme of that was vintage silver screen vampires. So for that, I wore the classic vampire cape. Very Bela Lugosi, very Dracula. And I also went to the Coven of the Articulate Anne Rice Fan Club Vampire Ball and got a goodie bag from there. The theme of that one was silver this year. Got a silver rose fan. It's very hot with all that vampire ballin' we do. A lovely velvet bookmark with a bat charm. A silver coffin-shaped soap with the Coven of the Articulate logo on it. And a magnet with the logo of the party. Their theme was La Belle Époque Noire. I did not dress La Belle Époque themed. That would have been more like Victorian era. No, I did my 18th century look because, you know, gentlemen's clothes were just so much fancier in the 18th centuries than in the Belle Époque. You've got to have a bit of color when you go to the Vampire Ball. And then the other thing this year was Anne Rice's son, Christopher Rice, hosted Anne's celebration of life, which is just a fancy word for funeral, which he'd been meaning to do since she died but since it happened during COVID, he had to put it off for a few years, and he wanted to make sure it was big and grand enough so that everyone could come. And they held it at the Orpheum Theater, which had thousands of seats. So it was huge, and it was better late and amazing than faster and tiny. And they sold merch, and it was such a moving and wonderful experience. You can watch it online. If you go to Christopher Rice's website, he has it streamed there. It's not the entire thing because they had live performances of music that they couldn't get the legal rights to stream. So I got to hear the music live, but they don't have that in the video. But other than that, you can watch the whole performance of all the speeches and everything and all the documentary video they did about Anne and her life there. And it's just really beautiful. But they sold merch, and you can buy the merch online too. And I didn't buy everything. I wanted to buy everything. But I will show you what I did buy. I bought this tote bag of Anne. This was the logo of the Celebration of Life. An All Saints Day celebration. And one of the beautiful things is All Saints Day is November 1st. And the city of New Orleans named November 1st, 2025, Anne Rice Day. Like, officially, that is Anne Rice Day in New Orleans. And the mayor, made an official decree. They did have goodie bags there for everyone, so I did get the free goodie bag, and then I bought the merch. But in the free goodie bag, there's a fan, which was also your program. It gave you the listing of the show. Anne Rice bookmark, which is the same bookmark that was in the goodie bag from the ball, but now I have two. And on the back, it has the quote that was kind of the theme quote for her whole funeral, which is, "I want to be loved, never forgotten. I'm greedy. I want to be immortal." Postcard, and another smaller postcard with two sides with the same quote on the back. For the merch I bought these two magnets. One is her signature and one is the poster. And this scarf has her signature in the middle. They were also selling things like t-shirts and candles and a tiny cordial glass that they weren't selling there, but you can buy online. All sorts of things. Just really beautiful things, which I assume all the proceeds from the merch sales go to actually pay for the whole show that they put on. It was definitely a very big, expensive performance. So go buy the merch and support Anne Rice's son. Based on how much debt she was in when she died, I think he needs it. I still have a lot of stuff to show you. Speaking of Anne Rice, these plushies I got from a Kickstarter. I don't know, a backer kit, GoFundMe, whatever. This is Louis Lestat and Armand, as envisioned by an artist online who wanted to make plushies of them. They are so cute. I just got these in the mail a few weeks ago. I kickstarted them, months ago, and they finally came out. But they did so well that the artist is doing another run. So even though this campaign is over and these are done, you can order new plushies from the new run, and that campaign just started and is still going. I think it's going until February 12th. So go now. I will put the link to go to that Kickstarter in the description of this video. So you can go pledge for plushies of your own if you want. I got Louis Lestat and Armand. Lestat being Lestat from the Queen of the Damned movie, apparently. He's wearing Rockstar Lestat outfit, but not the Rockstar Lestat outfit he wears in the book at all. This is his Queen of the Damned Stuart Townsend 2002 Rockstar Lestat outfit. Very cute. These clothes come off. I could strip him naked if I wanted to. Louis wearing a very classic, boring, terrible sweater Louis outfit. He looks so sad. Armand wearing the frilly new romantic look that he liked to wear in the 1990s in the books. This is pretty book accurate for him. You could look at it and think, oh, maybe he's dressed in Renaissance clothes. Maybe this is supposed to be Amadeo in the 1400s. Or maybe this is him in the 1990s. It could go either way. I actually ended up with 2 Louis dolls because I pledged for 4 plushies because there were 4 plushie options that they were promoting for the Kickstarter. One of them was Claudia, but that one didn't get funded. The GoFundMe didn't reach the full amount. So when I were picking my 4 plushies, I picked an extra Louis. So if anyone wants to buy a Louis, let me know. I'm going to put this one up for offer to see if I can let anyone else get this Louis, because you can't get these plushies anymore, but you can get the new ones that they're finding. They're doing Marius, they're doing Daniel, they're doing Nikki, they're doing Pandora, and they're doing the Louis and Armand and Claudia from the TV show. So if you want those versions of the characters, you can get those too. They're just all so cute. My little babies. But she's not just doing plushies. So if you think the designs are cute, but you don't want the whole plushie thing, she's also doing stickers and keychains and pins and other merch. And see, I got the keychains of Louis and Lestat because, of course, they must always be together. And she also sent me this art card of Louis with my package. It's so beautiful. Of course, after that, this plushie my mother gave me for Christmas is a bit green with envy. I like his pants. It looks like he's wearing Haunted Mansion pants. Good taste, good taste. Speaking of Christmas gifts, Lindsay gave me this 3D printed Nosferatu candle holder for Christmas. You put the candle in here and then it projects Nosferatu here onto the wall, so his shadow projects onto the wall. It'll look like the shadow in the movie. Very cool. She also gave me this wallflower, Bath & Body Works wallflower. It's a reading chair for my library. Some very appropriate scents to go into it. We have Book Loft, which we have discussed before. Library Nook. Wonder what this one smells like. Ooh, caramel pumpkin swirl. My mother also gave me some salt and pepper shakers. This one is Dracula in his coffin. I'm not sure which one's supposed to be the salt and which one's supposed to be the pepper, but you see, it comes out there. You just shake your salt and pepper on for Dracula. Comes out the top of his head. You film up there in the back. Dracula in his coffin, salt and pepper shaker. Edgar Allan Poe and his skull and raven. These almost look like bookends, but the salt and pepper shakers. Again, I don't know which one's supposed to be the salt and which one's the pepper. Maybe Poe is pepper. P for Poe, P for pepper. 3D printed Dracula keychain. Thanks, Mom. Go up there right next to your buddy. More 3D printed things. These are some 3D printed bookmarks that I also got from the Geekery Market. This one is a tarot card bookmark. These bookmarks were buy two, get one free, so of course I had to get 3 of them. And of course they all have skulls on them. This one is Death tarot card, my favorite tarot card, because of course it is. A lovely cutout skeleton. He's got a tassel. She let me choose what color tassel I want, the seller that printed these bookmarks. A beautiful skull garden. This adorable ceramic bat ornament was made by my sister-in-law, Kelsey. She is a potter, clay artist, ceramicist. I don't know what the proper term is, but she makes art with her hands, and it's great. This is a very sleepy little bat. I love it. My fledgling spawn has named her Blackberry. This is this little bat's name. This is Blackberry the bat. Also for my mother, in the bookish realm, this is a Shakespeare novelty plate. It's got some of his famous characters around the edges, protagonists from his plays and antagonists. I see Shakespeare favorites all around the edges of his plate. It's a plate. It's a plate. Shakespeare plate. This raven mug. This is so cute. It is very textured. Cute little raven mug. Stained glass raven sunlight catcher. For all that sunlight I have coming in my windows. Sure. Yeah, the sun comes in my windows. Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, it's from Killstar. Very cute. I love this. This is a skinny scarf. It's got dancing skeletons on it. It's the Dance Macabre. It looks like what used to be on the cemetery in Paris before they tore it down, the Dance Macabre. Just the dancing skeletons. It's two-sided. One side is white, one is black. With the skeletons, it's beautiful. Can you see those little dancing skeletons? Is that too small for you to see? It's so cute. Skinny scarf. This little guy who I got from the Geekery Market, also. Little gothic bat. Not that bats aren't always gothic, but he's especially gothic because she's wearing a little bony outfit. So cute. Lindsay also gave me this postcard from Disney's Haunted Mansion. It's the art of the carriage going up the drive to the Haunted Mansion. Love it. You know, I'm a bit obsessed with Disney's Haunted Mansion. I don't get all the merch from it. I'm very selective about what Haunted Mansion merch I like. I don't particularly like merchandise of the characters from the Haunted Mansion, but I like anything that has to do with the house itself. I like merchandise of the house designs, the house decor, the house features. It's the house that I like, not the characters in the house. I mean, the bride is okay. I like a spooky gothic murderous ghost bride in the attic, but I don't really like any of the other characters or the cartoony people. The organist is okay, Victor Geist. I liked him. I like his organ more than him. I would rather have the organ, merchandise of the organ. It's usually merchandise of him playing the organ, so that's fine. But it's the mansion itself that I like. So when it comes to merchandise of the Haunted Mansion, I usually tend to be attracted to things that feature the mansion, and a lot of that features the wallpaper of the mansion, as you may notice from the pants I'm wearing. Yes, I am wearing Haunted Mansion pants. You may also notice from my jewelry case, this Haunted Mansion little leather jewelry case. I love this little thing. Little travel jewelry case. It has the same design on it as my pants. Also featuring the wallpaper design is this coffee tumbler. This is not the Starbucks Haunted Mansion coffee tumbler, which was the cold cup, which they had this year, which was the same purple wallpaper pattern, which I wanted so badly, but I could not find. It sold out so fast. If anyone has a source of where to get the purple Starbucks Haunted Mansion cup that came out in 2025, so much. Send me a link. I need to find out where I can get it. I got their Starbucks cup last year, which was the green and black striped one, which was nice. But they finally had one with the purple Haunted Mansion wallpaper pattern. I didn't get it. Though this hot cup is nice. It's not Starbucks brand. It's just a regular old coffee cup. Yeah. They also had a version with the pajama pants pattern that they had the previous year on it, which is sort of scenes from around the house. We got the graveyard scene, we got the carriage ride, we got the hitchhiking ghosts in the graveyard, we got Madame Leota's table, we got the singing busts here, we got the groundskeeper with his little dog, we got the opera singer under the tree, just sort of various scenes. But I like the way this is drawn. It's subtle. It's not too cartoony looking. So I got two hot cups. You never know when you're going to need a hot cup. And then this tumbler I got from Spirit Halloween. I needed to get something to get free shipping. I was buying a mask for my Halloween costume for the vampire ball, and I needed a little something extra to get free shipping, so I got this. And this is very cute cartoon drawings of just various scenes from around the Haunted Mansion. It came cracked, though. It's completely cracked. So I was going to return it. And usually it's pretty easy to return to Spirit Halloween. If you order online, you can just take it into a Spirit Halloween store and return it, and they take it back, no problem. However, there was no Spirit Halloween store near me this year, so I couldn't return it. So now I'm stuck with this cracked Haunted Mansion Halloween tumbler, which I guess it still works. But, I'll drink some drinks out of it. It'll serve its purpose. That's what I get for trying to game the system. This little toothpick holder, shot glass, I'm not sure what it is. It's an urn. It is one of the vases urns from the Haunted Mansion, but, it says Haunted Mansion on it. It's ceramic. It's dishwasher safe. The Starbucks brand hot cup koozie. So you put this on like any regular Starbucks cup that you would hold. If you get your paper cup from Starbucks, you put it in here to keep it from burning your hands, so you don't have to use up the cardboard ones. You can save some paper wastage, at least partially, by using your reusable hot cup koozie, your Haunted Mansion brand. This belt bag, which I guess is their version of a fanny pack. It's sort of like a mini fanny pack. They did a proper fanny pack last year. By last year, I mean 2024. It's 2026 already. So this is like a little miniature version of a fanny pack, a belt bag. It's got like an extra pocket in it. It's not just an empty bag, but if you're going around and you don't want to carry a whole purse, you just want a little utility belt bag. Haunted Mansion reps. So they had the purple backpack this year, which I showed you, and then this is the matching belt bag that goes with it. Last year it was the green backpack with the gargoyle, and then the matching fanny pack that went with that. So every Christmas season, I go out to California where I grew up, and, you know, Disneyland's right there. So, of course, I have to go shop at the Haunted Mansion store. And they didn't have any Haunted Mansion pins this year, but they did have pins. This is the Headless Horseman pin. They had an amazing pin of the Headless Horseman. And this is Chernabog. An awesome pin of Chernabog to add to my Disney pin collection. I'm not a huge Disney pin person. I'm very selective about which Disney pins I like. I only like the spooky ones, and only if they're especially spooky. But I do have a few, and I especially like them. We're getting down to the end of it. There's a reason I ended this video with Disney's Haunted Mansion stuff, because I have one last thing to show you, which is that I did get at Disneyland. And it is Haunted Mansion. And it was rather a splurge. I guess this was my Christmas present to myself. And I never even knew it existed. And it's pretty big. I'm going to try to unbox this here for you. This is going to be a proper unboxing because I have not opened the box. And you can't really see what it is. The box doesn't reveal much. It's just a blank Disneyland box. And the side of the box shows you what it is. It's very tiny, so it's not like something that you can really... I can just show you a cool box of something and not actually unbox it for you. I'm going to try to unbox it without bumping my microphone and making this a bad auditory experience. Just that a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't miss it. I'm going to unbox this. This is from the Art of Disney theme parks. I bought this in Disney California Adventure, where they have the fancy shops, from an art store that they sell there. So I checked this on the airplane when I flew back from California. And I had not looked at it since I got back, and apparently TSA opened it. And if they mess this up, I'm going to be very upset. We're going to find out together. This is the tape of TSA. Transportation Security. TSA inspected this. Sticking to my fingernails. Why would they open up my Disneyland thing? It's not like it was a checked bag. This was a checked bag. Why would they go through my checked bag and open up my Disneyland thing? It's not like I went through the x-ray machine and they saw something suspicious in there. The whole reason I checked it was so that I wouldn't have to, like, unbox it for the x-ray machines. This is very upset if this is damaged. So when I bought this at Disneyland, the wonderful people in the shop opened the whole thing up and showed me every piece and made sure that it was in perfect condition when I walked out of the store with it. So if it's not, we're going to blame TSA. Flying home from California all the way across the country with it was a gamble. I packed it very carefully in my checked baggage because it is large and heavy. And I didn't want to have to take it through x-rays and security. But what this is an art piece. It's a certificate of verification of this art piece. The title is Haunted Mansion. The artist is Robert Olszewski. The edition is open edition. I don't know what this means. It's a certificate of authenticity. And it's sort of a diorama. Looks okay. It looks okay. So, it's a sculpture of the mansion, of the house. The full house and grounds It's made of resin, I guess. Not ceramic, some kind of resin. It's very heavy. But inside the house, you see it's empty. So you can see inside the house. When you look in, it's sort of an empty gallery. You can see the elevator in there. And it lights up. It has a plug. Or you can put batteries in. It has a battery pack. Here's the back of the house. Close it up. I could put the back of the house on. It just stays on there. Or I could insert these diorama pieces. I know this is too small and you can't really see it. This is not a proper unboxing video. This is the graveyard. It's got the grave digger, the 3 hitchhiking ghosts back there. And these all light up and they all glow. I can insert that into the house. And it'll light up and glow from inside. Came with 3 pieces that you can insert. The other one is the hallway. So this has the chain link hallway. All the stanchions that lead in. The last one is the ballroom with the dancing ghosts. And they're all made of clear resin. So that way when it lights up, they glow. And they will all glow when it lights up. It's beautiful. See, down underneath, there's all the holes so for all the lights to come through when it lights up with the LEDs. All the teeny tiny details. Oh, there's Victor Geist playing his organ. The staircase in the background. The dining table. Everything. I was just so excited when I saw this. Like, I went to Disneyland expecting to go to the Haunted Mansion gift shop and spend some money. But when I got there, they were pretty much sold out of everything that I would have wanted. Pretty much everything they had left was just stuff I wasn't interested in. It was just like the cartoony character stuff or stuff that I already had from the year before. And I like wanted to just get myself a little treat for Christmas, and they didn't really have anything. You know, a couple of these things I'm showing you were gifts that my friends had gotten me back from Halloween that I just hadn't shown you yet. You know, I got myself this hat, Foolish Mortal hat. This was on sale. It's Foolish Mortal, Disneyland on the back. Got myself a hat. But I had wanted to get myself a hoodie. It was a cold, rainy, wet day, hence why I got the hat. I'm not usually a hat person. I need to get something. I wound up getting a Jack Skellington hoodie because they didn't have any hoodies. There were no Haunted Mansion hoodies. Like, there was nothing that I could get there. They just had nothing left. Like, they had bowling shirts. Could you imagine me wearing a bowling shirt? Like, so I left the Haunted Mansion shop not really having bought anything except, you know, these tumblers, and went about my day. And then we went over to California Adventure, and I saw this in that art store, and I was just like, it's Christmas. So this has earned a place in the Vampire Library. I'm going to have to make room on a shelf, clear off some knickknacks. It has quite a large footprint. And I'm very pleased that TSA didn't inspect it too hard and didn't damage it in any way. Oh, yeah. Oh, a tiny Haunted Mansion to go inside my larger Haunted Mansion. I'll have to be near an outlet so that I can plug it in and keep it lit up. Thank you for joining me in the Vampire Library. If you would like to see your book featured in the Vampire Library, you can send it to my P.O. Box, the address for which is in the description of this video. Also in the description of this video is a link to a list that includes all of the vampire books and things that are linkable that I mentioned in this video. So if you want to look up any of the things that I told you about today, click on that handy list. It is an Amazon list. If you don't like using Amazon, you can just take the information from that list and go shop elsewhere. That is fine. I just use it because it is handy, but I fully support you not supporting the beast. At least not that beast. If you would like to see the return of Vampire Book Club, you can help encourage me to really get back at it by joining my Vampire Discord server, which is also linked in the vampire description of this vampire video. If you join my Discord server, make sure you read the rules and click the buttons, and that will get you access to the full Discord server. If you don't do that, you will only have very limited access and you won't be able to join the book club or any of the other things. Make sure you read the rules. I'm sure that is true for most Discord servers that you join. If you haven't been over to my main channel, Maven of the Eventide, in a while, please go. I did put out a video not long ago, another vampire review. I know it's been a while since you've seen those from me, so make sure you haven't missed that one. I'm very proud of it. There will be more of those coming up very soon. As engagement bait for the evil YouTube demons, tell me what vampire books you are reading lately, and if I haven't heard of them, I will add them to my vampire wish list. And as always, a spooky reading. Good night. You can never have too much Louis. So you think having two Louis is like, oh, there's one for each of them, right? Like they can both be happy. No. Armand gets nothing. They're both for Lestat, just as it should be.